You know, I've got a friend who has been crowned the queen of opportunistic napping. And whenever she needs to, she can take a quick snooze virtually anywhere for any amount of time. 5 minutes, an hour, it doesn't matter. On a boat, a bus, a plane. She is extremely efficient in catching a few Z's. But even she knows that there's a line that you don't cross, because there is a short list of places you're not supposed to fall asleep. Church, a courtroom, your kid's dance recital, and a funeral. Especially if at that funeral you're delivering the eulogy. Of course, though, we know that Donald Trump can't help himself. And before we get to him nodding off, I want to start with his speech. And it was Tuesday, Washington National Cathedral, Lindsey Graham. They were honoring him. Netanyahu was in the pews, Zelensky was there. And your president of the United States gets up to the podium and starts reading his prepared remarks. And about 4 sentences in, he just stops. Because he says virtually everyone liked Lindsey. But he had to stop himself.
Heated things got in Washington. Virtually everyone, Republican or Democrat, liked Lindsey. Well, not everybody, but it sounds good. Not everybody. He was a tough cookie, okay? I have to veer from this for a second. He was a tough cookie, darling.
Yeah, he had to veer from the eulogy at this funeral so that he could be more honest about how tough a cookie the deceased was. And then he veers somewhere I didn't see coming, which is 2015. He reminded the entire Washington National Cathedral, with heads of state in attendance, about the time Lindsey Graham called him a jackass. So in return, Donald Trump read Graham's personal cell phone number out loud to the public. And I remember the number, he says, 202-228-0292. And I haven't tried calling it, if anybody out there wants to give it a shot. But now it's my turn to tell you that we are all depraved morons. Because once Trump sits back down, the cameras, they catch him.
This wonderful staff, I know he would be so proud, because the past 2 weeks have been crazy busy, but you've made it happen. And that's so, Senator Lindsey Graham.
Eyes closed, head dropping, his long blinks. And then there's this super close-up too, by the way.
He was an entertainer and obviously, made a lot of friends, but also made a lot of enemies, as Senator Boxer just said. And it was a complicated legacy. He contorted himself in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of people were left obviously disappointed in him. But look, such is the life of a Washington original. There weren't many like him at all.
Yeah, certainly no one chronicles the green rooms of Washington like Mark Leibovich, so we're glad.
Oh my goodness. At one point, his head tilts so far it looks like he's fighting a losing war against gravity itself. I even saw one comment that said he was fighting nuclear war against wokeness, which 10 out of 10, 0 notes. And with Trump, the man who never sleeps and never does anything wrong, naturally the White House had to respond like adults. The White House spokesman Davis Ingle told HuffPo, quote, President Trump was reflecting on the loss of his dear friend Lindsey Graham, for whom he had just delivered a beautiful eulogy. Anyone suggesting otherwise is a depraved moron. Well, depraved moron, that's me, I guess. Because I am suggesting, based on the video we've seen together, that yes, Trump cannot stay awake. And I've got to ask, what would it actually hurt if the White House said something normal, something human? Hey, he's 80 years old. It was hot. It's a long service. It was a really, really long service. But why is depraved moron the easier sentence than, hey, he was tired? Tell me in the comments, what would happen? Would it actually help quiet the coverage if the White House came out and was honest about it? Now, even funnier, between these naps, Donald Trump did perk up long enough to pull out a roll of Tic Tacs, or one of the little boxes of Tic Tacs, and offer one to J.D. Vance mid-service. But you have to see what he does when he tries to get one of these Tic Tacs into his mouth. he drops one on the floor, just leaves it. Then he has to do that Slurpee move as a backup. This man is a toddler, falling asleep in a funeral, slurping Tic Tacs, throwing them all over the floor. And then on the way out, Donald Trump had to give a little tap to Graham's coffin. Let's look at it. Oh God, whoa, wrong video. Sorry about that. I'm not a huge fan of these AI videos, but if AI is being used for stuff like this, I might be swayed. Hilarious. But still, Damien, can you roll the real video? Yeah, that one's better, kind of endearing, but you have to remember that this man spent years building an entire nickname around his predecessor falling asleep. Sleepy Joe, said it in speeches, ads, made it an entire personality trait for Joe Biden. And I've got to mention that his sleepiness could be a real medical issue. There was a CNN medical analyst, Dr. Jonathan Reiner, said back in May on air that the president has severe daytime somnolence. Those are his words. He's a cardiologist. He put them on CNN. I didn't say it. But you do have to keep in mind the reasons that Donald Trump might have been running on fumes Tuesday, especially since he was up the night before, up late, doing what he does most nights, which is posting a bunch of AI slop, and none of it was as good as that casket video. But Donald Trump was up all night celebrating a ruling that let his defamation suit against the New York Times keep moving forward. He was firing round after round off on Truth Social, deep into the wee hours of the night, all before a 9 a.m. funeral for a man he called his friend. Which one's the priority? And that's why I'm going to ask that you subscribe, because Sleepy Don is going to keep doing this on camera in front of the world, and us depraved morons have to keep calling him out.